right, let's give this a shot. I am about to play a solo campaign of Starforged, the Sundered Isles, Sky Realm. That is the track that I have taken to playing this game. I have never played a solo adventure before, and I'm kind of new to the Ironsworn family of games, if you will, and I'm excited. But I tend to drift more toward like gritty, Ravenlofty kind of settings, things with darker tones. So I thought a fun challenge for me as a solo player in this game would be to go kind of the other direction into the more fantastical and high fantasy, steampunky, various punks, hopefully, and just see if I can go as bright and brassy as possible with a campaign that's set on the Sundered Islands, high in the atmosphere, airships, dirigibles, oh no. So here we go. And I have done basically my session 0 for this already and come up with some ideas, but I hopefully along the way, as we start exploring, then you'll get a sense of our truths are in terms of Ironsworn world building. And I also have a hero character ready to go that I'm excited to introduce you to. A handful of other NPCs, but beyond that, we have no idea what's going to happen. So why don't we set the scene and start with the status quo as the sun begins to break over the horizon and the faintest traces of the nightly auroras that occur on this part of the Sundered continent. A pink and golden hue breaks over the many clouds. Above is impossibly broad sky. There's no end to the horizon. Dotted here and there amidst the clouds in early dawn, we see numerous suspended land masses either in some drifting strange orbit or hung sort of surreally still in the sky. However, these are mostly in the vast distance, kind of enshrouded in cloud and fog as these huge cloud formations drift by. But there is one that utterly dominates our skyscape, if you will, and that is the island known as Spire. Spire is, in fact, serves as a functional beacon for a lot of the air traffic out here in the margins of the Sundered Skies, and it is the largest settlement around, and has been for a very long time. From a distance, it looks maybe like a top that's been flipped over, and the spindly side is pointed straight up in this very jagged, the spire, a high peak, ringed with its own clouds, and also forested many times in a vertical, an alpine jungle. And as it widens, as we pan down more toward the base, we can see more of the island itself, a kind of a prominent crag that hangs underneath but is still coiled with really massive roots, and the ever-present flocks of birds nesting and flocking together. And built in and kind of burrowed into the spire itself and to the foremost edges of its perimeter is a city. It's known as Milestone. A little nod to the game, as we'll hear that word a lot. But I really like the sound of it in terms of its meaning, in terms of where it actually is in this area of the sky. We'll get into that more. And the fact that it's actually literally made out of, these dwellings are built and dug into the stone. There are pulleys and sky bridges, facilitate a lot of movement, especially now that the sun is coming up. And the activity of humans in this area is almost instant. Their flags and pennants are heard flickering and flapping as people awake from their homes and conduct all manner of businesses. This is a thriving place, and most notably in the settlement of Milestone on the island of Spire is a massive base for the Menders Guild. The Menders Guild being a prominent faction here in this area. So much so that Milestone has thrived and grown in such a way because it is a literal pilgrimage that is part of their order. Right around the corner, a few miles away, floats a much smaller island. It's the Monument Island. It serves one purpose, and that is for the faithful of the Menders Guild to gather and pay respects to their founder, Karsten the Explorer. And that site is known as Karsten's Reach. Karsten's Reach does not have the capacity for the amount of pilgrims that arrive, and so passage to and from is done at Milestone, the island that has everything. So, of course, there's also a lot happening early morning at the Menders Guild's prominent guild hall. And as we see just the normal common citizens of Spire, the tradespeople and the farmers, we also see Menders themselves going to and from the site, always working on some sort of project, always improving some sort of infrastructure. And this is how I see the Menders Guild. They are the logistical head, these Skies. Things work because of them. They have the knowledge and are sworn to good public works, but not at the behest of any authority. In fact, they are a sort of a third authority. And everybody, I think, plays really nice with the Menders because the Menders keep things running. So they hold a notable position in the region, let's say. But of course, there's one figure standing before the guild hall in the sort of the dusty, windy streets that are down here in this, near the frontier of the island, you might call it, where the docks are. And the docks themselves sort of form like a Saturn's ring around the island itself. It's this impressive multi-level wooden plank structure, various, what's the term? Skybound, things that defy gravity here. And all of the ships, of course, are skybound. And some of them are just like massive ferry ships to take pilgrims out to Karsten's Reach. But let's get back to our lone figure here, leaning against a wall with a tin cup of coffee that he's ignoring and a worried hand over his chin. And he has might call it like a furry bomber jacket, like probably like leathers of some sort on the outside and furred on the inside, a pair of goggles, and of course like various satchels and things. The type of garb you might expect from someone who flies around, who sails around at high altitudes. And there he is. He's got a pocket watch, carefully maintained, shining brass. It's obvious that to anybody who knew anything about pocket watches, if they happen to be walking by, they think he takes pretty good care of that watch, hanging from an iron chain. And he's checking this watch periodically with a lot of apprehension. If this man was being observed, we would also see that he would be constantly glancing at the entrance of the guild hall itself. He seems to be eagerly awaiting someone, and that someone comes out in sort of a group. This one member of this group seems much more important than the others, and this is also shown in these sort of work overall uniforms that they're wearing. Each is sort of singularly equipped with a cargo pocketed work suit, all in various colors. So there are delineations between, for example, like yellow jumpsuits are agriculture, but the rather tall figure striding out in front of them is wearing the black jumpsuit associated rather with logistics, putting him at a rather high rank within this guild. And we can imagine him as a sort of a very busy, bespectacled man with, some rich white hair, but a nice, broad, venerable forehead. And he's sort of fending off little requests from the other Menders that are his subordinates. And he notices a somewhat glum figure lurking a few feet away, and recognizes him as a man that not only he knows fairly well, but a person who he's actually watched grow up. Thom Daisy, the first mate of the Last Chance, has proven himself in this elder Mender's eyes many times, and he has a soft spot for him, let's say. And I think Mr. Daisy he's counting on that. So I think even amidst of all of these interruptions, it's the Mender who finally addresses Thom and he says, "No need to hide, Mr. Daisy. Is there something I can do for you?" And the younger man approaches, but clearly didn't want to find himself in this situation. He seems like he's a bit ashamed of what he has to ask now, and what he asks is, "I only need one thing, Brother Gilbert, and that's a contract." Ah, not at all really surprised seeming, and shoos the others away, and the two of them stand there. Brother Gilbert kind of peers down at Thom with these all-seeing spectacles, and Thom sort of nervously pours out his cold coffee at that point onto the dirt. "Mr. Daisy, if you want a contract, you should go to the dockmaster." "Yeah, I know that, brother. I had to come to you first." "And why is that?" "Because you know I'm not going to get anything from the dockmaster. I need something this morning. I need something now." "Do you? Mr. Daisy, does it not occur to you that there are other skyfarers out here that might also desperately need some sort of work this morning?" "Yes, Brother Gilbert, I know, but I don't know what else to do." The older man can see that something's genuinely bothering him, and he kind of reaches out. He says, What is it?" "It's the captain," replies Thom Daisy. And you could tell that it hurts him to admit it. It's Captain Calloway. He hasn't been well. "Yes, I'm aware of that. And not quite up to the task of salvage, as I hear it." "No, Brother Gilbert, he's not quite up to it these days. And I'm afraid it's going to cost him his ship. If we don't get something soon, he's going to lose the ship. And then what's he going to do?" The mender kind of furrows his brow, and he's troubled by this. And after a moment, he reaches into one of his sleeves and produces a tiny scroll, and unrolling it in his fingers, "I'm going to make you a deal, Thom Daisy. I'm going to give you this. No one has seen this yet, not even the dockmaster. And in return for giving you this, I don't need you to do anything. I just need you to think. There's other ships you could work for, Thom." "I know that, Brother Gilbert. I know." "Very well then, you should be off before anybody else notices that there's unclaimed skycatch out there." "Yes, sir," says Thom. "Well, do you have the proxy of your captain and the permission of your crew to swear on iron to bring back whatever skycatch you can grab there and deliver it here to the Menders Guild?" Thom grabs onto his little iron chain about his neck and nods. "Aye, as first mate of the Last Chance, I swear for 'em all." Brother Gilbert nods sort of curtly, and he's walking. He says, "You should go now, Thom." "Aye." And Thom begins to run off. It's a long way actually for him, because to traverse all of the various docks, he's got to swing on a rope. He's got to climb down a few rope ladders. I think maybe the harborage that the Last Chance has gotten was not the most expensive on the island. It's farther away, but Thom doesn't mind. His heart is flying. He got his ship a salvage contract, and there's a chance that it could be big, because whatever it is, it's skycatch, meaning it's some of the remnants of the world underneath that have somehow become skybound and have floated up from that world through the curse itself and reached the skies. And it is the source of many interesting and desirable goods, many artifacts from that world that is inaccessible because of the curse. And the most precious thing of all, perhaps, the strange driftwood-like beams of curse wood that come floating up, that the menders then, the shipwrights of the menders then shave and mold and combine into the functional airships of the islands. Without curse wood, there would be no ships, at least for most people. Okay, so that's considered an automatic strong hit in terms of making a connection. So Brother Gilbert now has a rank, which I've said is formidable, just because the way he seems in my head, he's an important person. But I've also done something else, which is swear an iron vow in service to this person. So that counts as progress, it seems. And I'm going to develop my relationship with Brother Gilbert and count that as progress towards our bond. Let me add this to my journal here. So, we now have Thom He's clutching this little piece of vellum or parchment, and he's got a salvage vow again. He's so excited. This is one of Tom's assets, scavenger, and he, because of that, he knows just as much as anybody about how to find and secure Skycatch when it shows up. He's been doing it his whole life, and here on the outer perimeter of the docks of the Spire, he's sort of dangling on a precipice, really, because the bridge itself extends out beyond the land mass itself, and so it's just open sky here, and these are all really seasoned skyfarers, so they're just sort of clambering on with one hand. They're very used to this perilous and dizzying view. You wouldn't begrudge anybody wanting to stand there for a moment and taking it all in, the vast open blue sky and the massive cloud formations going by. It's a bit impossible for Thom in that position to ignore one unwelcome addition to this usual view. In the great distance, but still perfectly visible in the high sun, glimmering in fact, is a shining brass oval, again hanging sort of unnaturally in the sky. The noise that it makes can't be heard from this great distance, but Thom can sort of bring it to mind. It's the massive dirigible capital airship of the Commonwealth, and we'll hear more about them very soon. As distasteful a sight as that might be, the only other place to look would be down, and if anybody else saw him do that, they would probably warn him against it or think him just a novice. Nobody looks down at the curse, not for long, not for more than you have to. The superstition being that it makes the curse want you more. Thom breaks away from these thoughts and, skitters down the rest of these planks, finally jumping down and arriving on the deck from like a higher platform, and it sort of surprises the other crew members there. I've got some NPCs in mind for this crew, and we'll meet them again soon. Thom is first and foremost greeted by the gravelly croak of a very large raven that swoops down and just habitually, out of instinct, lands right at home on Thom's shoulder, looking for a snack. This is a pretty wizened-looking bird. It's got lots of patches of gray and white in its plumage. And Thom says, he quickly gets out a piece of dried meat to offer the bird, and of course, that's all he wants. Passes by the other crewmen, the gunner, the navigator, the cook/surgeon, the quartermaster, and gets sort of a grave look from all of them, kind of as he passes by. And it's funny, I don't have that much more time for this session, but I wanted to at least roll something. So we've learned a little bit about the captain of the Last Chance, Captain Dice Calloway, his moniker coming from a prouder time. What the crew knows is that he suffered a tragic accident that none of them would wish on anybody, but it's left him in a state that he doesn't want yet to. And I think that Thom is going to try to see how the captain's doing before presenting this expedition to him. And so what we're going to do is we're going to gather information, as this is, in essence, conducting an investigation. So this is a roll I'm going to make plus wits. And the way I envision this is Thom has spotted the quartermaster of the ship, Quentin Vaz, or Quentin the quartermaster, or just Q, much to his annoyance, is a very broad, middle-aged man. I imagine mostly bald, but with like really intense mutton chops. And he's busy checking the supply with his, just like a big surly sailor, right? And but of course, like everybody else on the ship, they've known Thom a long time and have a fondness and a respect for him. But Thom kind of leans into Q's shoulder while he's working to try to assess how the captain's doing. And we're going to find out if what he finds out is helpful to us. Gathering information. So let's roll it. Plus, Thom's wits are not his strongest stat. Let's just start with that. And in the meantime, okay, good news. That's a strong hit. I rolled a 3 plus my wit score, 1, giving me an action score of 4. But luckily my challenge dice only rolled a 1 and a 3, so nice. So how does this play out? Thom leans into Q's shoulder. The guy smells like garlic all the time, and no one tells him. Thom is like, and Q's like, Mr. Daisy, how is he today? Has he woken? Aye, he's woken. Well, what's his state? How is he? Excited, confused. Tom's not all that surprised, but he says, excited at least. Aye. Do you think he'll be in the skyfaring mood? I don't know if we'd call it skyfaring, but he's in the mood for something. Very well. I'll speak with him. In the meantime, ready the crew. We've got work. Sky catches it. I think so. There's a loud gronk from above, where Jinx, the raven, is now perched. And Mr. Daisy then, gives Q a appreciative pat on one exposed hairy shoulder and stands up and kind of readies his flight jacket as much as he can and fixes his hair, knocks on the door. He hears a voice come within. Oh dear, who is it? First mate, Cap. Mr. Daisy, come in. And he kind of exchanges a look with Q and steps inside the captain's quarters. A once really well-loved place. This is a guy who was, I think, pretty well known in his heyday and had a lot of various maps and charts and strange trinkets that have come to above from the curse, floated up to be discovered. And but now it's really fallen into disrepair. He's got a number of his cooking utensils kind of scattered around. A few of his garments and personal, his long johns are like scattered on the ground. But the man who stands in front of his big long mirror seems like he couldn't be happier. At this stage, he's not in the prime of his health, but he's got his old captain's jacket kind of ill-fitting around his shoulders, and he's wearing his finest curly wig, and he's applying some very, very fancy and courtly makeup to his bristly face. And he looks and sees Thom Daisy in the mirror, and he says, "My boy, where have you been? I thought I'd quite forgotten." And Tom says, "Not to worry, sir. I went off and spoke with the menders. I think I might have gotten us the work we needed." "Did you now? Oh, that's quite good, Mr. Daisy. Well, you've taken that right off my plate. When do we leave?" And I think that's where we're going to stop for now. But yeah, we'll see what happens next time.